All right, we're back. The NBA playoffs are still here. You know the drill. For all that watch us, hour 30 minute, video of just us talking about all the playoff matchups and all the playoff drama and whatnot. Uh, Kind of free flowing. So we'll see how this goes because oh my god, so much happened. So much happened since we what's it called? We last recorded last week on Monday,
Yeah.
Monday night, and
So
I guess first we are kind of pre-playing this out off air, but uh, I guess first let's just talk about Chris Paul and the Suns. They did it in such dominating fashion, beating the Nuggets. That game four from Chris Paul, like my God, that was something else. Age is just a number for these new sports athletes, like these sport athletes. Jesus, oh my God, what a
absolutely.
game from him. I he, he was just dominant, but then this whole series, what a job from Phoenix Suns, man. Anything we want to add, man? Anything you want to get
Uh,
off your chest?
I mean, really looking at it, Phoenix really just absolutely outmatched Denver in every facet of the game. It wasn't very close. I thought it would be, I think we predicted was it Phoenix in six or something like that. Was it six? Something like that. Seven. I forget what it was, but something like that. And we were saying like Phoenix, they clinch the series at home. I guess that would be seven or five, but anyways, it would be slightly longer series. I didn't anticipate a sweep necessarily, but
I didn't either.
wow. I'm just looking at this and just like, how good are they? And they're all their unit is clicking at right now. They're doing really well in terms of just like having role players step up. Their stars are playing bigger than ever, right? And Chris Paul was unconscious this last game, didn't miss a single shot in the third quarter. And then Devin Booker, he's been elevated. Um, in the post game conference yesterday, he was telling the inside NBA guys like people were around the league were saying that he's been like saying that he's a little overrated, that he hasn't done anything, hasn't proven anything in the playoffs. I mean, my God, now he's proven something in the playoffs. I'm telling you now, he's proven a ton, and it's time to definitely rip off that overrated label if you ever even had it in the first place on him, because that man can play.
People
So
who said he's overrated don't know, they don't understand. These weren't empty calorie games that he was playing like before Chris Paul, like how dominant he was. Yeah, no, he ain't overrated. This ain't
he ain't
he wasn't
overrated.
empty calories.
If a guy can score 70 points in an NBA game, like inside regulation, like he's got some game. Come on now, like not many players can physically do that. So, anyways, though, yeah, just thoroughly overmatched, and it's too bad that Denver season came to a close, but I think the narrative of this season is injuries really play a big role, and Denver was one of the harder hit teams in terms of key players being out, not being able to contribute during the playoffs, and it cost them dearly. So
I mean, if you want to look at the Denver side first, we can go into it. It's just yeah, I think they are what's it called? They're doing they're on the right track. I think with Michael Porter is getting better. He sucked defensively, of course, that series. All Phoenix had to do was hunt him down, and he was a liability defensively. He
yeah,
was no match for like how just switchable and how much motion like the wings. They always like Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder. Someone would be wide open. Couldn't do anything about it because it's not that great defensively. But I think you have a trio coming in with Jamal Murray, uh, Jokic, and Porter. That's great. That's a great trio. Although I think the Murray injury, we keep thinking, oh, he's going to be back. Like by next year, he'll be fine. But like this ACL tear happened like kind of in the latter part of the season.
yeah.
So when you think about it, it's going to take, it's not just like, oh, he'll be back by the first week. It's going to take a bit. So, I mean, but credit to Michael Malone, like even with Murray out, I mean, he's still they did better, I think, record wise, to a percentage basis after Murray got out,
Yeah.
and they improved their standing. So it's possible they could get there in contention, and with Murray, like they're a solid team. Uh, but I think it's just injuries was a problem for sure, and it just you just felt bad for Jokic. Jeez. You just felt bad for Jokic. Not just for he shouldn't have gotten ejected in that game, but just in general, throughout this series, you feel like he just could have had more help, or he could have found a team that was like better cohesively. Like you look at, sure, Jokic is great, and the Nuggets are a good team, but I think you just contrast with the cohesion that Phoenix had. Sure, there weren't any injuries, you might say, although Chris Paul is a little banged up. You couldn't tell from Game 4, of course, but uh, the cohesion and the chemistry and how Phoenix was clicking on all cylinders. And although Denver has a good offense and they have a good system, it's kind of Jokic dependent. And it doesn't feel like that same click. Now you could say, well, wasn't Phoenix supposed to be Chris Paul dependent? But I think the Nuggets, this might just be overreaction just because they just lost, but the Nuggets mirror more like the Mavericks than they do the Suns. If uh, if you disagree, let me know. I think Jokic kind of like you have Luka and you have Jokic, and sure the Nuggets are better than the Mavericks, I think by far, but and they have better role players and they have better cohesion. But it doesn't feel like the same way that like when you watch Phoenix click. And I think it'll take some time. It's a relatively young team when you think about it. Like you think about the like Porter's like 22, Murray's 26, Jokic's 25, so something around that. It's not like they've really gotten like huge amount of experience yet. It might
Right.
take time for that culture to instill. I think right now they mirror more of the Mavericks than the Suns. I don't know what they should necessarily do to get there because like they have the players they need and they're a solid team. I just think it's a matter of time. I think it takes time. And it's nothing against the Nuggets. The Mavericks, we all know their problem is they need better players. Like Kristaps ain't it. I think for the Nuggets, it's just they need more time.
Agreed.
But any thoughts on any other thoughts you have on the Nuggets? Or yeah,
It just comes down to health, I think, for Nuggets. They they made all the right moves. They acquired Aaron Gordon at the trade deadline. He's been good for them. He's been other players have been stepping up. You got like Monte Morris, like Fazu Campazzo,
Austin Rivers off the waiver
Austin,
wire. Yeah,
Austin
solid.
waivers off the waivers. Like, man, just like they somehow, some way they try to make it work, and it's worked to some extent. But it runs out of gas during the latter stages of the playoffs, as you see, evidently. So if a team can stay healthy like Denver, and I feel like this offseason, their cap isn't like as of a, in a strenuous situation as last year, where I had to let go of a lot of players, i.e. Jeremy Grant,
Malik Beasley, right? Yeah.
Malik Beasley. That kind of hurt for sure. But, this year, I think it's a little bit better in terms of like cap management. And so if they retain all the players and they stay healthy, which is a big if, because I think Jamal Murray has to come back next year, like almost at the end of the season next year, which is that's painful. But Denver's got as good of a chance as anybody. I feel like they are a very strong team.
And I mean, I think they could do it. I mean, although I think Aaron Gordon in the playoffs like wasn't that great, if we're kind of being honest.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think they do have a chance. I mean, the fact that I guess you kind of brought up the fact that like the way Monte Morris and Austin Rivers able to step up, kind of, in a way throws in the face of that take I just said about the Nuggets being more like the Mavericks than the Suns, because you can get Austin Rivers out, off the waivers and essentially just he pops off for you. I guess in a way that contradicts what I said, but I guess that's true. And I think Michael Boyle is just a good coach. I think Michael Boyle is a good coach. I think it boils to that. And so that's what I gotta say about the Nuggets. I guess about the Suns, I guess we should get moving to Brooklyn, Milwaukee real quick. But with the Suns, I guess it's I mean, congratulations to Chris Paul. I love this man. If you've, I mean, we have a very short history of this show, but like, we made that episode where we had our favorite players, our top 10 favorite players for each of us. We made like a team out of that starting five. I mean, I love Chris Paul. I'm glad that this happened. I mean, this team, it felt like it just fit him a lot, and I think with age, it just his experience. He was like this, but I think with the added talent and his experience and being back with Monty Williams, uh, it's just all worked in synergy, and I'm glad for him. And of course, we talked about Devin Booker. This man ain't underrated. Get the hell out of here. And this playoff showed it. Uh, Almost Lawrence Taylor esque playoff debut. Oh, that's football. Like Bill Belichick, there's a famous quote about like a quote where he's kind of lambasting this need for playoff experience, and he's like, LT didn't have playoff experience, and look what he did. He won Super Bowl first season, like first time in the playoffs, right? So you don't really need. I mean, Devin Booker's kind of putting on a show in that sense too. Like it's crazy how great he's
Yeah.
been, in these playoffs, and people who are doubting him, it's kind of silly. Uh, but I think, but beyond that, like the way Chris Paul has made this team so much better. I think we've talked about this before, so I don't want to get too much into it.
Right.
But the fact that DeAndre Ayton is just so much better, that this whole wing players, and uh, I don't know, man. Does this Suns team? Would you say they would be the favorites coming out of the West? Is this overreaction? Seeing the sweep?
At this point, maybe not. We'll get to the Jazz Clippers series later. I think against the Jazz, the Suns would be the favorites, but against the Clippers, it could be more of a toss-up. But then again, we'll have to see how that series pans out because that one's now tied 2-2. So, anything could happen there. But yeah, I think I give some credit to DeAndre Ayton as well. I think like this series he really did pretty well. I really think so, and he played big. He did well, and that was a big part in contributing. Their wins and like really dominating Denver, really. So good job to them too.
All right, and yeah, before now we're just gonna move on to, I think, although that series ended, I wanted to cover that first. I think the most shocking news that came out since I shouldn't say shocking, but the most, I guess, devastating news that came out that Kyrie Irving's now hurt, and Milwaukee tied it up. It was funny. The last time recording, I was saying Brooklyn shut me up, thinking Milwaukee had no chance, especially after Game 2. Then Game 3 happened, which was bizarre. That was such a great, weird Game 3.
Such a weird game.
What the hell? I like defense, but that was just anemic. That wasn't a good game. That's not great defense. That was sure PJ Tucker played good defense, and like Drew Hall, the Bucks played good defense, but the Nets didn't play good defense. That was just Giannis bricking jump shots, and like what the hell. But then, of course, we hear the news, or you see the news, you see it. Kyrie Irving, it looked terrible when he landed on it. Terrible. Like just you're wincing, and then even though as a Celtics fan, never wish injury on someone. Like even as a Celtics fan, that sucked to watch. Seeing that. So it's and now I mean, Milwaukee did quite well that game. I mean, you might say because he was out, but in general, Milwaukee did great that game. They went on a run in the first half. Giannis started dunking and started actually, being a mobile Shaq, like he should be deployed. That's what he is. He's a power forward version of Shaq. He's a Shaq that can drive, and he can also dunk and play center too. But he's a Shaq that can drive. He should be used that. He should use himself that way, and not always have to settle for threes or jump shots. But he got into gear. PJ Tucker was harassing Kevin Durant. Katie and them got chippy. So now we're tied 2-2. Harden nor Kyrie is going to play Game 5, which is tomorrow, or I guess today when we release this. And it looks like Milwaukee's going to win this series, man. What the hell?
What the
It
hell?
comes full circle, and I guess maybe knock on wood. Before we were wrong. We were wrong 2 times in a row. We don't want to be wrong three times, maybe a third time's the charm. But I think Milwaukee's going to win the series, just from sheer injury luck, which is it's crazy. I went on a little run there. Didn't give you much time to chip in, but give us your thoughts, man. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, you covered basically most of it. It's all good. It's all good.
My bad.
No, that's good. It's always it's good to cover everything, making sure. And so I'm just looking at this basically. I can't believe it. When you look at how Milwaukee played games 1 and 2, and then I would say especially game 3 because they were at home in Milwaukee. They played bad, just totally bad. And like I can this is like maybe a very indirect reference, but when it came to football, right? And some people say the teams that have a bye sometimes don't have a great advantage, like when they rest their players so much because they become kind of cold. And the team that's playing through the wild card round and playing in the divisional against those well rested teams, when you over rest your guys, sometimes they play better. The teams that keep on playing, they're hot. When I look at Milwaukee, I almost thought that when they swept the Heat, they were resting for way too long, and they were just on the ice, and they were cold. They were ice cold. None of their players could play. It looked embarrassing. I think game 3, even though they won, it was just so bad, just in terms of just the display, that when you think about it, they had Giannis at MVP. They had, Chris Middleton, who's supposed to be a scorer and a scorer only. You got Drew Holiday, who's, congratulations to him, actually first team all NBA defense team. I saw that
Oh
today.
yeah.
Awesome. But he's supposed to come in as a scorer as well. And then, role players, PJ Tucker, Brooke Lopez, et cetera, et cetera. They put up 86 points. I mean, and Brooklyn is not known to be a great defensive team. I mean, as much as, they could have maybe stepped up a little bit in the playoffs. No, 86 points means your offense absolutely failed on test. You got an F on the offensive scale in game 3. And that just made my confidence in Milwaukee having a good series and really coming back really, really low. Then came game 4, and things kind of changed. So I guess their guys really started up, and it came to look like game 4 looked like a little bit of what the Milwaukee Bucks in the Miami Heat series looked like the actual we are a unit, we are actually firing on all cylinders again, we are actually playing up to our potential kind of Milwaukee Bucks. And then Brooklyn, I mean, come on, you can't really blame KD. It's just KD kind of he tried all he could, I feel like, and PJ Tucker was playing excellent defense on him. When you have one player that can basically be the guy who scores at all your points, it becomes really difficult to win. It's I feel like at this situation, I'm reminded of LeBron during the 2015 finals against the Warriors, when Kevin Love the round before got his shoulder separated because of Kelly Olynyk in that series. That was a cheap shot. And then Kyrie, breaking his kneecap game 1 in the finals, but carry just this is a hard carry. KD, I feel like when you say how can the Brooklyn Nets win this series, KD probably, in my estimation, has to drop 50 points for them to win a game. Probably 50 points. And let's see, they've won 2 games, so he has to drop 50 points twice in the next 3 games. two out of the next 3 games. And I don't know about that. I just
I
don't
mean,
know about it.
if Tatum can do it, he can do it. Like this guy, he's great. I mean,
I think
he could
I
do
can
it.
give him one because I've seen KD. When he was on the Warriors, I remember that one game when he played at Toronto with Kawhi on that team, and he was just unbelievable, like shooting threes, like just like right over the guys. Like I know KD has it in him, but 2 out of 3 games against the Bucks, like in a playoff semifinal, that's gonna be quite tough. So I'm gonna say Bucks win. Um, Probably, it might go to 7, but I'd say more likely 6. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, if this series goes to 7, like the Bucks should look at themselves and think like
Well,
what's going
I'm
on.
already disappointed with them anyway. So
Yeah, I am too. Our pseudo Bucks fandom that we had, or it's kind of taking a dip.
they
It's
have.
taking it looks like it's going up, but it's still a dip. Like, was that also this quick aside though? Was that Katie? Was that game the same game that like he tore his Achilles stuff?
No,
Where he
no,
was just going okay.
it was a regular season game. He scored in the high 40s, but
Oh, you're talking about you're not talking about the finals guy. Got
no,
it.
no, no. It was the game that Katie basically no Steph. I think Clay was on the court, but it was just no Steph because Steph was injured. Katie basically took over. He sent the game into overtime by shooting 2 threes, one at the top key, one in the corner, both of Kawhi. Prime 2019 Raptors Kawhi guarding on him in his face. 2 threes, and then just like absolutely like went ballistic that game. So I know he has it in him, like as I say,
He
but
do- he does. I think that shows you. Like, I mean, yes, PJ Tucker's good. He's a good defender, but I think that Kawhi he's better. And I think we've seen KD being able to carry the team like that, scoring wise. I think the problem, as other people will like other pundits will have told, it's not just me alone. The problem is now ball handling. The problem is now like initiating the offense. Like him having to be, I mean, I guess it would be Mike James now as a primary ball handler. See, this is why I said Steve Nash should get more credit because fine, you have the 3 stars. Like, oh, your job is so easy. You have 3 stars. Yes, I agree. That makes it much easier. But I mean, it wasn't like the 3 of them always played together. They did it. They hardly ever played together, the 3 of them.
Yep.
It was pretty. It's honestly, it was Kyrie and a bunch of people for a lot of it, because Harden, so many mismatch and so much all this. You get Mike James. You have to get Blake Griffin has to somehow revert back to his prime. Like they got Blake as an ancillary piece, as in during the buyout period. They didn't. Was it buyout or trade deadline? I forgot. I think it was buyout. But
It was buyout.
buyout, right? Point is, he wasn't supposed to be like the starting center. I mean, he was supposed to be the guy, like the second option. Now he's the second option. Now he's the second. Is it fair to say he's the second best player on that team now? Right?
I mean,
Or would you put Bruce?
I might put, well, I mean, like pure scoring wise, I could put Joe Harris, but Joe Harris has to have someone pass him the ball. That's the thing. So,
but Joe Harris has been kind of cold recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Very
too.
cold.
He's been quite cold.
So you look at this team, right? It's going to be like Mike James, Bruce, what is it? Bruce Brown, and then Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin.
So you're looking at.
I'm sorry, like what? Sure. Katie is there, great. And then we always talk about like these superstars. Like if you're a superstar, you can carry a team, great. But like there's difference when I guess when Joe Harris is supposed to be the second best player in mind. It's what, and Mike James is again like almost an international waiver guy, might I add. So,
hey, again, this is shades of 2015 NBA Finals because LeBron had to have Matthew Dellavedova. Exactly.
Yeah.
So international. So you got your connection.
And in a way, I think defensively, the Bucks can. I mean, KD is a great offensive player, but I think if you don't have to worry about Kyrie or Harden, then the Bucks defensively can figure it out. No, but I think the Bucks should win this. If they don't, that is just a travesty. Unless KD goes off for like 55 or 60, then fine. I'm gonna benefit the doubt. There was nothing you could do about that. But if that's not the case and you lose like one of these games or two, or you lose the series, you as in if the Bucks lose these, right? Then yeah, I'm so disappointed. And I would say Budenholzer needs to go. I would overreact and say that if they lose the series. I kid you not.
Some guys would go as far as saying that this team might need to be blown up, but I don't know if we go that far. But I mean,
no, do not blow up this team. But I think Budenholzer needs to leave if they lose the series. What?
That's
point. Look, the big takeaway though from this is like the big Brooklyn Nets juggernaut that we were all fearing that like the NBA. What's the point? Like, oh, you can get three people together and now they're going to run roughshod. Like they don't even have to try. Now, yes, you do. They have to. They're like, KD has to like turn God level. He has to pull a Jason Tatum, and he's better than Jason Tatum. I think that's the type of game he has to have. And
basically,
on top of Tucker, Giannis is great defensively. So it's just, point is, and then, so rip the Nets. I guess yay to our prediction that the Bucks will win the series, but this is not the way we thought. We're not happy about this.
In general, and we will look at other series later. I am now quite disappointed about the East playoff teams, and just like, because we all thought, both being you and I had, I polled a few of my friends too, like just, my high school friends I know, about, hey, like who's going to win? All of us picked the East playoff teams, and none of them look as good as the West playoff teams right now. Not even close. So, you know what? Maybe we were wrong. The West probably is actually that much better, but that really sucks.
The West is the best. The West Coast, the best coast. The West has been the best for a while now, and the East is always top heavy. We just assumed that they were so top heavy that they were that much better than the rest of the conference, like those three teams, and they are not that much better. They're not that much better. Anything else you want to add about this? I guess we were thinking first we had Philly winning this, right? We had Philly winning it all coming out of the East. Then we're kind of with Embiid. We're kind of real worried. We kind of saw we'll talk about later, but we kind of saw what was going to happen with this Sixers Hawks series. Like after game one, we kind of figured it'd go like this, and we see the Bucks now. Do you think the Bucks can beat whoever comes out of Atlanta, Philly?
Oh man. Okay. Let me say this. Let me preface it. I hope so. That's what I'll say. I think the Bucks at this point stand probably the best chance in the finals as the East representative. But I'm just looking at them, and it's just like them against the Sixers. Now I take the Bucks. Like I feel pretty confident taking the Bucks, but somehow Atlanta is a little bit sneaky, and I think it's why they're like getting under the skin of the Sixers somehow. Like they are like getting their way, and like actually it's a tied series. Like how like you can't believe, like, because in the beginning both you and I were saying the Knicks were gonna win that series, and they got gentlemen swept, and now they're 2-2 against the 1 seed in the East. I don't know how it's gonna be, but I'd like to see the Bucks, but against the Hawks, I don't know. That's a weird series. Let's say that much.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just say this though. I actually don't know about Sixers. If you're that confident about it, good for you. I'm not. I just don't know. I feel like they look like the same. They look like the same team. It not not like position by position, but the overall ethos, it just feels like the same. Like they're great on defense, but offense, it's like where the hell is it? Other than let's say, so that's that. But I think in the regular season, I remember Drew Holiday. There's one game like Drew Holiday locked the fuck down on Trae Young, made him look terrible. And like the Hawks, as good as they are, unless Trae Young is good either as a passer or as a shooter or as both, like they're not going to do that well because Trae Young isn't like Ben Simmons where like, oh well, I don't have any stats, well my defense is so great. Trae Young ain't defended shit. So I mean, credit to McMillan for improving that defense, of course, and
big credit.
You know, he's definitely gotten better than before, but it's still individually he's not that great defensively. There's not that much he contribute on the defensive side. It's more the cohesion itself. It's not one individual player on that team. Where was I going with this? But if Drew Holiday can just shut down Trae Young, then they don't stand a chance. And I mean, Drew Holiday, rightfully so, first was it the defensive team?
All NBA.
Congratulations. Yeah. All NBA defensive team. So, and Giannis on there too. You got 2 Bucks on there, so that's a different aside. But
they're good.
I think with that in mind, I think the Bucks would beat the Hawks, but I'm not sure about Philly Bucks.
Okay,
but who knows? I mean, we were wrong many times. This playoffs is wild. This is actually one of the better playoffs. I'm just super stoked that stuff is going on. And the Suns being so hot, I appreciate too that it's not just like the teams that we thought it was going to be. It's, you know, dark horses that are going. The Phoenix Suns, I guess, weren't a dark horse, but I guess relative to, let's say, the Lakers or the Nets or even the Sixers, right? They're kind of a dark horse. So the way they're doing so well is great.
Absolutely.
All right.
I guess we can probably pivot into.
Yeah, Sixers. We should definitely move on. And Sixers Hawks. This game, I thought they figured him out. I thought they said put Ben Simmons on Trae Young. I thought that's all it was. And turns out no. Because even though, I mean, you just look at the stats, Trae offensively, like as a shooter wasn't the best, or as a scorer. He had 18 assists. My God, that's crazy. That's I feel like if a player can still have that many assists, like Trae Young it's wild. I thought Ben Simmons was going to be able to handle this man. You know.
Oh.
Anyways, but what? So much has happened though. I mean, we're only talking about Game 4 because it finished today, but when we recorded, the Bucks, not Bucks, jeez, man, it's late in the Central Time area here. The Hawks narrowly beat the Sixers, but it was the Hawks bench kind of just routed the hell out of the Sixers, made them look. The Sixers bench looked absolutely terrible. So then you have the Hawks, you know, they won that game, but it's that the margin doesn't really tell the story. It felt like bigger than it was. We came on, I kind of overreacted. You kind of settled the nerves down. We saw Game 2, the Sixers didn't do that much better, but you know, their bench stepped up more than they did at least in Game 1. Their bench was somewhat good. Then Game 3 happened, and defensively they were just like, Ben Simmons, you're on Trae Young, not Danny Green. And it looked like case solved. And Embiid went off. He's went off on all of these games, by the way, as a secondary story. He's just gone crazy off, like so many rebounds per game, so many points per game. It's been absolutely ridiculous. And I guess it's not as covered because the Sixers bench is so bad that they're not blowing out the Hawks that they should be. And then Danny Green gets injured, and we're with this game. I'm in the middle, so I had to do something. I couldn't watch the full game. I couldn't watch the end. I kept checking the box score, but in the beginning, I was like, oh, the Sixers got this in the bag. It's going to be 3-1. Let's just move on. And then I look up fourth quarter. The Hawks are leading. It's only by a point, but the Hawks are leading. I'm like, what the hell? I thought Trae Young was doing shit, like doing terribly. Uh, I bet for all the language, but I thought Trae Young was doing terribly. I see all the assist numbers. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell is going on? And then they win that game, and oh my, I'm like, what happened, man? I thought they figured it out. So what's your read on the series? Thoughts?
I'm so confused, honestly. I mean, I think what you said earlier, before we like pivoted, about Nate McMillan and his defensive, like what he brought in his mentality to this team has been invaluable. It's been so good in making the Hawks like overnight into a much better defensive team, into a much more cohesive unit, and really improved him. Like, what were they? The Hawks were a 5 seed, and they look like they're playing much better than a 5 seed. That's for sure. Um, you know, tonight I feel like one of the things they did well was, Joel Embiid got his rebounds and stuff like that, but man, he went 4 of 20 from the field. So that means like, either he was a cold shooting, but also, the guys up down low, you got like Clint Capella, John Collins. Those guys really, they did their job somewhat in trying to limit what you can from Embiid, right? Like, guys still gonna get for his for sure, but you're looking at Capella, he has 13 rebounds, John Collins 12. Like, they fought hard, and they came out on top. I think Atlanta, they know that the only way they can, get anywhere close to like, beating the Sixers or winning is that they have to like win in close situations. I don't think there's that many scenarios that they can, blow out the Sixers, because I don't think they're talented enough. And I think the, talent matchup wise, Sixers are more talented than the Hawks. But,
Yeah,
in that sense though, if they play better every game, like, they're the more, the underdogs, but they play better, they execute better. You see stuff like tonight where, they somehow win. Somehow the Sixers, they're missing shots down the stretch, and never end up tying the game, which this really sucks. Honestly, I feel like this is big for Atlanta. 2-2 series tied. It really drains the Sixers in some ways too, because you're looking down at next round. No matter who comes out, I feel like it's still going to be a pretty heavyweight match in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're letting Atlanta, as good as they are, I feel like, in some ways the Sixers are supposed to win this series, hang around for so much longer. You have to play 2 more games at the minimum now. And that's not good. I'm just going to say right now, not good.
yeah. I mean, at the very beginning, we would think this was a sweep or gentleman's sweep.
Yeah.
Then that game 1 happened, and I was, just wow. What's going on? I mean, of course, it was the Joel Embiid MCL was kind of what soured me a little bit, and then that game 1 further, like, kind of made me think maybe Atlanta's just going to do very well in this, or it's going to be a long series, and it turns out it's just going to be a long series, and that's definitely from a Sixers point of view. You don't want to put more playing time on Embiid's bum knee. Danny Green had to leave, in the middle of this series. Just curious. I'm not following this series as intensely as like as the other 3. Just purely based on the timings of like when I have to do stuff, and these games are always on when I have to do stuff. The Sixers Hawks. How serious is Danny Green's injury?
Well, so 2 days ago, he was injured, and they're saying that he's out at least 2 weeks. So 2 weeks means end of this series, right? This series he's done for, and then very likely, if not guaranteed, Eastern Conference Finals. So the earliest we'll see Danny Green in any capacity would be if the Sixers made the NBA Finals.
That exactly, and it kind of sucks as the Sixers should have handled on paper should have handled the Hawks quite easily. and the fact that they haven't, it kind of leads to a situation where like he's Embiid's got to play more on that knee, and then Danny Green ends up injured, and that sucks. Even because there's more wear and tear on him as he has to play more minutes because the bench can't do shit. Especially at least the first two games, the bench couldn't do crap, so he had to play more, right? Yeah. So that's more wear and tear on that guy. He's kind of old. As much as you don't like Danny Green, I think it's kind of upsetting that he's injured. So yeah, it's I don't know where I was going with this, but it's definitely rough for Sixers. And but I'll say kudos to the Hawks on the flip side, man. Like they're really showing it. Like, I think in a way, Trae Young is kind of after Luka's rookie year and after year two, and we're seeing Luka blossom. We're like, oh, that Luka Trae Young trade is going to go down as like one of the worst draft trades in a while. Like that's going to be, oh my God, why would you do that? One of those type of trades. How basically Luka for was it the Hawks got Luka for no, the Hawks gave up Luka for Trae Young, and was it DeAndre Hunter, or was it the pick that would get DeAndre Hunter?
I think it wasn't it the one that got Cam Reddish? I thought that was the pick.
Yeah, the one that got Cam Reddish. DeAndre Hunter was the finagling with the Zion, not Zion, from the Anthony Davis Lakers.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's Cam Reddish. You're right. And so you were looking like, oh well, yeah, Trae Young's good and everything, but he ain't no Luka. Imagine Luka with this team. If pundits, first take guys, armchair, random YouTubers like us, would be saying, what the hell? And this is in a way showing that Trae Young's like, nah, that wasn't a bad trade. It's like the role that he's taken on, as the villain in the NBA, but beyond that, the role he's taken on with this team and how well he's been playing in the playoffs, but just in this year too, but especially in the playoffs, kind of, make it. He's not as good as Luka. He's not better than Luka. Don't, of course, but he's showing that he can serve that role for a team, and for a team that can go really far.
Yeah.
And if he develops more, let me interrupt myself. There's Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. He made a great video on the next step that Trae Young should take. It's on Ringer's YouTube page. So just check it out, because essentially he can become Steph Curry. He can get there, like beyond his passing and assist level, right? If he can become more of a motion guy and harness the shooting and improve it, right? He can be the whole all around point guard offensively. And because right now, right, we were just talking about this with the previous about, well, if the Bucks play the Hawks, I said that they shut down Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday shuts down Trae Young, it's kind of over. But that's because of the way that Trae Young plays now. But if Trae Young can ascend to where he can just motion offense, he can kind of just go out of ball, go in and out, and then just choose his spots where there's not always one person like traveling around him and guarding him, that can unlock so much. And I think he's there. He can get there. Point is, man, this whole series, and credit to the Hawks, but this, Trae Young is showing, it's not like Luka's that much better than me, I guess, in a way, because Trae Young is quite good. He's quite good. He's definitely the second best player out of that draft, I think. So quite good.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. I think you covered most of what we have to say there. I think Atlanta, they, some of their role players are playing well. I think I covered most of this too, like John Collins and Capella. I think they're like stepping up. I think Bogdanovich, he scored really good in this game. He was one of their primary scorers alongside Trae Young. That really helped them. And what's interesting is I'm looking at both teams, and I feel like Atlanta is similar in some ways, but not as much. I'm looking at Philly. They are limiting their rotation so small. Like their starters are playing heavy minutes. They're playing, they're playing heavy minutes. But you know what? The Hawks, sorry, they're playing heavy minutes as well. Just looking at these box scores, it's kind of crazy. But Trae Young playing 40, Bogdanovich playing 42. Like, and then on the Sixers side, you got Embiid playing 36, Simmons 36. Even the guys like Tobias Harris 39. Seth Curry 30, 35, like heavy minutes for the starters. And then the reserves and the bench guys, they barely get a run. So it's like both of these sides are like, we're going all in on our starters. We're going to trust these guys. We'll run them into the ground literally. So it's an interesting way. I think it's a little different than, some other teams that maybe would deploy, their bench guys a little bit longer in some stretches. But yeah.
Yeah, especially when you think about the success that Atlanta's had on the bench, in previous. But I guess you can only play your bench if the opposition is willing to play their bench.
Yeah.
If Philly's not even willing to play their bench, then there's no real point of putting out, a Kongwu and Snell against Embiid and Harris. Like, oof, that sucks. So
getting some early playoff experience.
anyways, exactly. So, man, I think I don't know about you, but I think I've kind of exhausted what we could say about this series. I mean, we'll see what happens later on.
Yep.
All right, and I guess that means the last series we got to talk about, the Clippers and the Jazz. Last time we were recording, we didn't even know who was going to be playing against the Jazz. We thought it was going to be the Mavericks, or I was so confident it was going to be the Mavericks.
That too. Yeah.
And oof. Yeah. That sucked. Well, at least for us, because we're rooting against the Clippers. You because you're a Lakers fan, me because I don't know. I think it's just fun to root against the Clippers because why not? This series, especially the first two games, has been very entertaining. And this is the series I've been able to watch the most, and I think, which is a silly way of thinking, but the most captivated, even more than Brooklyn Milwaukee, just because Brooklyn Milwaukee, the play is kind of just especially for Milwaukee. But where's it going with? But this the Jazz Clippers series, it was so fun to watch, especially those first two games. Hearing that crowd in Salt Lake City, my gosh, what they got the color coordinated fans, they got the overrated chants for Paul George, which I was interested as to why Doris Burke was so pro Paul George. Like, let the fans be fans. In a way, he is kind of overrated. You got to admit it. Like, we act like this guy should score like 25, 30 a night when he only did it. Actually, this game just ended. I don't know if he did today. He did in game 3. Oh, he did today too. All right, maybe he's coming back. But he's a little overrated. Point is, game 1, the runs that happened in game 1 were just amazing. Donovan Mitchell going off in that second half was a beauty to see in that first game. The second game, that was a good ending too. Although the Clippers blew it, which made it kind of fun. Because let's see. So game 2, Jazz led large early. Then the Clippers came back to actually take the lead in the fourth quarter. Huge surprise. But then they kind of blew it defensively, let Joe Ingles walk into a 3. You're like, what the hell is going on? Chaos. And the whole crowd chanting Paul George overrated. You can go through a whole sequence of things. And then they go to the LA and then everything switches. And
wow.
It's crazy. It's in part, you might say, because Donovan Mitchell kind of somewhat re-aggravated that the ankle. That sucked. And I guess they're just I don't know what they're doing, but they're figuring out a way, I guess, to play small ball, and it's and I guess Paul George is turning it up, and they're just killing. They're absolutely killing the Jazz now, and that's where we
Yeah.
stand 2-2. Home game wins for both teams heading to Game 5 in Utah. So that's the recap. But what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts on this?
I honestly, in some ways, almost feels not directly, but in some ways, feels a little deja vu in terms of just like Clippers, Mavs. You know, when
It's
they
easy to see why. Yes.
at this time you have teams winning on their home court, which makes more sense than teams winning on the opponent's court every single game until Game 7, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so looking at this, it's an interesting series. I feel like a lot of people said that after Utah jumped with that 2-0 series lead, that the Clippers were they got a massive hole to dig out, and no, I mean they really just came back these last two games. I attribute Game 3 more so to Mitchell getting hurt. I think that was a huge kind of like turning point in Game 3, and like I think the Clippers just like we're gonna cruise from then on, and that really that took the wind out of the Jazz sails. I feel like Donovan Mitchell's so important to Jazz. If it is really painful, if you don't have him, it's like it's hard to operate,
especially if Mike Conley is not going to play,
which he isn't. So and then Game 4, Mitchell did really good. He scored 37
30.
points. Man, look, I mean, like even on like a kind of a bum ankle, guy's a warrior. Like he will fight, and the credit to him. I really thought that I don't know. I didn't watch like a lot of the game, but looking at the box score, I don't know what happened to Rudy Gobert tonight. Maybe it's because the Clippers are playing a lot of small ball, but Rudy still got 32 minutes of run. So I'm just typical. I feel like his numbers are a little pedestrian tonight. Just to be honest, 11 points, 8 rebounds.
It should
One
be
block
more.
shot. Really feels like that's below what he's playing at, and he's an all-star in this league. He's a defensive player of the year candidate. He's all NBA first defensive team in the center position. I feel like honestly, Rudy should have been playing better this game. I don't know. Maybe he got like phased out in terms of the Clippers playing small ball, but again, like why play him 32 minutes then? Seems like he was still on the court a good amount of time. So, that's something to be concerned about. I feel like for the Jazz, it's like when you're not at home, your role players don't show up as well. That's like that kind of hurts. Like I'm looking at Jordan Clarkson. Like that's a guy that the Jazz really lean on. I feel like that's their, isn't he? Like he's a 6 man of the year candidate for sure.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's a 6 man of the year.
Oh, he is. He is the 6 man of the year. Okay. Yeah. No,
it's official.
Right. See, like guys, he's been amazing off the bench. He's like literally just he's the spark, the guy who really sparks the run in the second unit. And tonight, scoring 8 points, that hurts a lot. I mean, honestly, for them. And that's the problem about the Jazz. And then the other side for the Clippers. We can say as much as we want about, Kawhi. He's been good. I think Paul George, he's trying to, silence his critics a little bit. Played all right tonight. These role players, I think, the Clippers are kind of starting to, figure their way out to play together, and it's kind of scary. I'm just gonna say, I mean, because if you think about the Clippers, I've always said the entire season that team is deep as hell. Such a deep team. They have so many good players and role players. If you suck, we can just switch you out for another player in rotation, and we'll throw guys at you. How many guys did the Clippers play? They played so many players tonight. They can have a really deep rotation. They can rotate a lot of players. They had one role player really show up, Marcus Morris Sr. playing well. But another night I remember Reggie Jackson going off. Like Reggie Jackson, Game 2, single-handedly brought the Clippers back. Like these guys, these guys will say like, oh man, write us off, right? And then their role players start like going off, and it's like, oh damn, like their stars aren't even like going crazy. It's the role players that are like bring them these Clippers back into these games, and so they're going to be a tough out, definitely. I think Game 5, that's going to be a huge game. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens because, you know, how well can the Clippers? I feel like they've already shown that they can do okay and pretty well in Utah, but can they actually win one out there? Because Utah has home court advantage. Can Utah's role players actually finally show up again at home? Which they definitely need to in Game 5, and we'll see what happens. This series has definitely been the most entertaining for sure because the games have been a lot more watchable, I'd say, than most of the other series. So.
Yeah, this series is definition of our our we'll see phrase that we often use. Because we'll see with this series. But and I think they just missed Mike Conley, the Jazz.
Oh yeah.
If the Jazz had Mike Conley, it would be much better. Like I remember from those first two games how although Mitchell played so well, what they would do to kind of neutralize him to get back in games was often they would meet him so early in at the top of the key, but like so early in the backcourt, near half court even, like they would already start defending him and somewhat at times trapping him. It would have helped to have a second. It would be good to have a second ball. And sure, like Ingles is a good playmaker and all of that, but it would be nice for Mike Conley to be there to also negate that, and to let Donovan Mitchell show off even more,
right?
And not have to do too much as far as orchestrating is concerned. Like he could be just used as just a straight up weapon, But I think that's the takeaway I got from these past two games, especially because as great defensively as Utah is, right? But we've talked about this, right? If you have somewhat lumbering players, like there's a reason small ball works at times against like a big team. And having Mike Conley there can make the team slightly smaller. Yeah. So you'd be able to switch more in the backcourt. Or not backcourt. But Rudy Gobert won't be as vulnerable.
Yeah.
So like he won't be as vulnerable to drives if the perimeter defense in the backcourt could hold up. So I that's the takeaway I get from it. But we'll see about Game 5. There's that stats about if you're tied 2-2, whoever wins Game 5 usually wins the series. We saw with that Mavs Clippers series last time, like round before, that doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then there's multiple occasions where it can straight up be like, yeah, it didn't really matter. So, yeah, I get just from memory, just from PTSD memory, just thinking about Celtics, whether it was the Lakers, whether it was the Heat, all these Game 7s when we were up and we won Game 5. Whatever. Point is, we'll see. Game 5 should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, that's all I can really say from this. It's just been great to watch. Just because it's fun to like watch a game when you're just irrationally rooting against the team to lose. You irrationally, me irrationally. It's just fun. It's fun to pick sides for random reasons.
I think we can, I guess, realign our recommendations to Jazz Clippers as our popcorn series, because we did say like 2 podcasts ago it was the Nets and the Bucks, and that series, that was not a very watchable popcorn series. This one, let's refocus and say this one will be a popcorn series. 1, because the games are actually somewhat watchable, and 2, because Steve Ballmer might be the most interesting owner to watch in the NBA playoffs. That is fact. That is a fact.
I was just thinking about this. Like, is he the only, like, him and Billy Crystal are the only 2 Clippers fans, right? Are there any other Clippers fans that are like that personally?
they're like big celebrities. I mean,
Or
first of
just that personally. Do you
all,
know
oh,
any
that
Clippers fans?
no. I will say anyone who is a Clippers fan is because one, maybe they were swept up in Lob City. I don't know why you would be, but okay. Or two, maybe you're from San Diego and you're like in your later 60s or something like that because the Clippers used to play in San Diego. So I probably get that, but honestly, in any other circumstance, why would you be a Clippers fan unless you just hate the Lakers for some reason? But it's a Lakers town.
Some
Always.
reason. There's many reasons I hate the Lakers. Anyways, but I guess I know someone who's a Kawhi. Like we're part of the generation where like people are fans of players more than they are fans of teams at times. And this guy, I mean, he's a Celtics fan first and foremost, but he's definitely a huge player fan of Kawhi and KD. So he roots for the Clippers just because he really likes Kawhi.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the guy who just doesn't like LeBron. So or he likes he does like him. He just thinks that sometimes we tend to overrate him. Me included.
To some extent, but yes, yeah.
But point is, so he just roots for Kawhi and he roots for KD. So that's it. Yeah, but other than Billy Crystal, Steve Ballmer, and the guy who's not really a Clippers fan, it's like it's just because Kawhi fan. Shout out to Cortez. That's it. That's it. They don't exist. I guess all the people, at least Brooklyn fans, like what is it? Andrew Yang came out as a Brooklyn Nets fan because he's running for mayor. He has to pick a team, and it was Bill De Blasio have to wear that freaking gosh, man. We shouldn't delve into politics, but my gosh, some of these guys. Why are you choosing to be Brooklyn fans, man? This makes you even more unlikable. Anyways, in New York, but
facts.
Yeah, but there's the fact that they're so they it'll be fun. Well, what if the Nets? Let's just hypothetically, if the Nets were able to make it out, and you would have Clippers Nets in the finals. Let's just say, like, it would just be fun to see like those parades, just see how barren they are. Those fan parades, those championship parades, whichever team wins.
Those two teams, yeah, it'd be kind of painful.
Do you think the Clippers or the Nets have the least amount of fans?
I'd say, okay. Well, I mean, before this year, the Nets did not have a lot of fans. Let's just be honest. Right now, I'd say Clippers. Right now,
less fans.
Yes,
I think I agree. Less people will go to the Clippers parade than the Nets parade.
Of course.
If that were to happen.
Yeah.
That would just be fun to watch. That's a windy road we went on. Where did it even start? I always like doing these.
You started on Jazz Clippers.
No, of course we started Jazz Clippers. We had like a little side conversation, and it turned into, do we know any Clippers fans? Oh, Steve Popcorn Series. That's what it was.
That's what it was. Steve Ballmer. That's what it was. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Steve Ballmer being a great fan. Anyway,
my man, Steve Ballmer.
I agree. That's my popcorn series for sure. I think I literally watched. I ate some popcorn late at night watching that series.
There you go.
So
there you go.
It'll be your popcorn series. All right. I think that's a wrap up for the NBA playoffs for now. Of course, we'll come back with an update as we are prone to do. All right.